Good morning. Hi, everyone. Let's see who all is here. Welcome, welcome. I'm Belinda, and we're here with Just Be Yoga and the beginning of our week for our home yoga practice live. Come on in, let's grab a seat, get your journals, and say hello if you're here. If you're inclined to saying hello, I'm not in any way commanding that. Pardon me. I'm really happy to be here. What a wonderful, beautiful morning. I hope everyone gets a chance to go outside if you're here in mid-Michigan, but get outside wherever you are, as long as it's not dangerous. Let's go ahead and start and get grounded so that we can get ready to talk a little bit about our theme and get in some movement today. But let's just go ahead and come on in to our space of yoking. I thought I had a lighter with me, but I don't. Alrighty. So make yourselves comfortable. You could be sitting in a chair, sitting with your back against the wall. You could be lying down on your back. And invite yourselves to arrive. Arrive here now. I am here now. Physically. I am here now in this body. And inquire of the body how it is. How are you? Good morning, Claudia. Keep inviting yourselves to arrive and just feel that distance, that perceptual distance from whatever is occupying your mind to being able to occupy the now. And invite your breath to arrive here. And inquire of your breath. How are you? And invite your mental space, that thinking, heady space, right here. Feel whatever's bouncing around. Try not to let your attention focus on any specific thing that's bouncing. And inquire of your mind, your thinking space. How are you? Invite your wisdom into this room, onto this mat, in this moment. I am here intuitively. And inquire, how are you, intuition? How are you, wisdom? And lastly, let's invite our inner bliss, our inner peace, our bright light within to arrive here in this room. I am peace. I am light. I am here as a being of peace and light. And inquire of your peace and your light. How are you? Let's breathe in and sweep the arms up and overhead, lengthening, connecting physical body with breath, with mind, with wisdom, with light. Exhale, hands to prayer, holding at our heart center. I'll invite us to start with the Ganesha Mudra. So we're going to bring the palms together as such. I'll come a little bit closer and pull, okay? And we'll feel that tension. Notice where you feel it physically. Feel it in your breath. Are you still applying it physically as you bring your attention into the mind, your wisdom? What does this tension represent? This struggle, this resistance? And then slowly feel it easing up as your grip starts to loosen. And we slowly release. And we're going to turn the palms and find a clasp and pull. Is the struggle isolated in a single area of your body? Is it dispersed? Does it change? Are we familiar with what this feels like? What it represents within us? How do we respond? Really mean it. Pull. Pull. Not that light, dainty, new age stuff. Pull. And gently release. That's the Ganesha Mudra. Let's take a moment and just feel out how it feels to have that release. Are there any residuals of that tension in our bodies? Well, good morning. It is good to start this morning with all of you. I'm Belinda. This is Just Be Yoga, and we are starting this week's home yoga practice, where we are working on ways to develop our personal yoga practice, our connection to all 8 limbs of yoga, with a new theme for our practice plan. And this week's theme, yep, Duhkha. Suffering or pain, despair, trouble, fun stuff, right? Yay! Who saw that and went, yay, we're gonna practice Duhkha? A lot of times you might see in some popular culture, in some industrialized yoga wear, more sukha, less dukkha, right? More sweetness in life and less pain. More sugar and sweet, rather than the sour. So Duhkha. Feel free, again, if you're joining, to say good morning. Oh, wonderful. Alexandria, good to see you. Hey, Patty, thanks for joining. All right, saddle up. We're ready to step into Duhkha. All right, so our Tuesdays, the beginning of our week, is where we break down a little bit of our practice plan and a little bit of the nugget of the philosophy of what is it that we are practicing. I hope that it is helping us develop a way of setting with ourselves. What am I practicing? Anytime we roll out our mat, anytime we say that I am commencing my yogic practice, what am I practicing? So by setting a theme each week, it gives us something to have that focus, that overarching blanket. And then we can work within that and see the lessons about whatever that theme is in our movements, in our breath, in our study. All right. And that leads me to that practice plan. So we've been working on a rudimentary plan. I may be expanding on that plan next week and in the coming weeks. But right now, it's just a 4-pronged plan. Really simple. Get a notepad or a journal if you like. And so we'll make a plan. What is the plan? This week, that plan, the intention is Duhkha. I'm going to come back to that a little bit more. We're going to dive in a little deeper. So we tend to spend Tuesdays maybe sitting, maybe chatting, maybe making some notes first, and then maybe in the last 20 minutes or so, a little bit of movement. Some of us, if you haven't been hanging out with me, may say, oh, the yoga won't start until then. No, the yoga has already begun. Yoga means to create a connection, to yoke and bind together. So we're binding together our awareness. So the plan, we make that intention, set an amount of time that's reasonable. Now that could be on a day-to-day basis, right? Some of us are living some crazy lives. And so you might be like, today I can earnestly give myself 5 minutes. Tomorrow or new day, I can give myself 20, or new day or new week. I'm going to commit to 40 minutes, or I'm going to commit to 20 minutes. Whatever it is, set your amount of time. Then observe. All right. So making that observation a part of your practice when we're on our mat, not the doing, but the noticing. All right. And I think sometimes, especially when we approach the pose aspect of practice, asana, we tend to just be looking at, oh, I'm doing a thing. I got to put my foot here, squeeze this here, align that here. We're busy, 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 distracting ourselves with all of the doing and never able to arrive, that inviting ourselves to be present and observe. And observing means it requires some stillness. It requires some attentiveness. So we got to flex that muscle of observation. Good morning, Gaia. I'm sorry, Gaia. Know what I had for breakfast today? I'm having a squirrel moment, you guys. Hit a timeout, having a moment with me and my friend Gaia. Randy had shared the tengual. Am I pronouncing that correctly? So I finished off some awesome spicy tengual, and I just ordered a whole bunch online from the devil. So sorry. So anyway, spiciness in my belly. Okay. We observe, and then maybe write down after your practices what it is that you got to observe. This week it ought to be really fascinating as we explore dukkha, suffering. And then lastly, or primarily, guidance. As you take through this week, for example, let's say tomorrow and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday, how are you receiving guidance on the thing that you're studying? How are you receiving guidance on the thing that you're observing? So when you write something down and go, I wonder, why do I do this thing? How are you pinging that back? How are you using a resource, either a reading material, text, or a teacher? All right. So choose. Who is your teacher? Try not to be pinging and pinging, right? Don't do the thing like, well, mom said no, so I'm going to go to dad because dad says yes, right? So choose your teacher and stick with it, all right? Know how you choose a teacher. And that could be something we can talk about in another session about how do we go about choosing our guru? How do we go about choosing who we're learning from? All right, Duhkha. Oh, and by the way, today, Gaia, is Randy's birthday. So whoop it up. Okay, all right. Now I'm away from all of those private conversations, but we're all community, right? Okay, so what is dukkha? Hey, feel free to start to type in. Okay, any thoughts already of what you already know about dukkha? Or what you're a little fearful about. Let's take it on a base level right now. Just in receiving, we're going to study suffering, pain, despair, trouble. What does that mean in my yoga? What does that mean to any of us who are here right now? What does that give you in terms of any fear, in terms of any excitement to work on? I'm gonna wait and see if anyone has any thoughts, and then I'm going to continue. BKS Iyengar describes despair and misery, dukkha, as dukkha. Dukkha, that can sound pretty intense, right? Despair and misery. How does that gel with your yoga practice? All right, I'm not seeing any volunteers, so I'm going to jump in there, okay? How many times have we been, I'm just going to keep it on an asana level. How many times have we been in a certain posture or starting to learn to put our bodies in a certain shape, and all of a sudden everything, fibers, muscles, nerve bundles go, hell no, we won't go, all right? So one could interpret that as a bit of suffering. Maybe you notice that you just can only do like 2 or 3 sun salutations, and you start to get tired and you start to give up and you correlate the continuing of doing it as drudgery or misery. You could consider that as dukkha. I know I have been guilty of framing 2020 as a year that has sucked or is one of suffering and misery and despair. So that's another way of looking at how I'm experiencing it. Anytime I'm hungry, I could say that I am suffering to some degree, and certainly a grave injury, right? Some grave mortal injury, depression, traumatic events, someone not returning love when you want to express something to them that you really enjoy about them and it isn't returned, right? We can interpret all of that as suffering. All right. So why should we study suffering when it comes to yoga? All right. Now this one is a deep chew. So maybe write it down, maybe not. We're just going to hopefully open it up for discussion. Remember, we're here to share. All right. So let's try not to just be in a space where everyone's waiting to hear what Belinda has to say. I hope that we are able to interact with one another. All right. So dukkha is nothing but a certain state of mind in which we experience a limitation of our possibilities to act and understand. That's a big chew. Okay, so maybe look at that over again. This is from Desikachar. Desikachar is the son of Krishnamacharya, who is often considered like the grandfather of modern day yoga. So dukkha, pain or suffering, is nothing but a state of mind. Number one, how does that gel with us? Is suffering a state of mind? Or are you like, hey, if my arm got lopped off, that's not a state of mind. Okay, that might be legit. But a state of mind in which we experience a limitation of our possibilities to act, right? Where we're running into an inability or an obstacle to being able to act or understand. Okay, so suffering. I want the candy bar and I can't get the candy bar, so I interpret that as suffering. Okay, so my inner 2-year-old is like, "Mah!" And I have an absolute fit because I am feeling as though I am being harmed by not getting what I want. So that's an inability, a limitation of the possibility to act. I can't get what I want or understand why I can't get it. Okay. Maybe it's 20 feet up and I can't jump up there. Or someone has told me no, and I don't understand the reason why. Okay, so I've taken a really simplistic way of looking at not being able to get what I want as a way of suffering, desire, right? Anyone, please, Gaia, Patty, Alexandria, Heather, any thoughts on suffering as we're starting to let the wheels, the cogs in our heads start to churn, as how it can relate to something worthy of studying, meditating on, or practicing in order to change our relationship to suffering? Because who doesn't want to change your relationship to suffering? Okay. And maybe that's a whole different kind of wording. You're hearing this now of change my relationship to suffering. Wait, don't I just want it to end? I like to relay it as change my relationship to it, because for me to think that I can end it means that I think that there is a perfect way of being on this earth in which suffering will never exist. All right. Now, many of you know that I am a practicing Buddhist. And so, yeah, that's right. Some people are like, they just love their suffering. No, I don't love my suffering. I just know that it's always going to be there, that life has its cycles of suffering, and that's it. And so if I don't change how I relate to it, it's going to hurt me, and my perception of it is going to hurt me. And that's where I'm arriving now, is about perception. I'm going to give you guys something that I was reading. Sometimes terms such as suffering, troubles, or sickness are used to explain the meaning of dukkha, but it is best described as a feeling of being restricted. Dukkha is a quality of mind that gives us the feeling of being squeezed like a boa. That's me editorializing on Desikachar. It is not to be compared with physical pain. There does not need to be any physical pain to experience a feeling of great dukkha. The level on which dukkha works is the mind. And then the quote I gave you, dukkha is nothing but a certain state of mind in which we experience a limitation of our possibilities to act and understand. Even if we do not have a need to express our feelings in tears, somehow we feel disturbed deep within ourselves, painfully bound and restricted. So our perception. All right. Any good yogi will tell you suffering, old age, and death don't automatically vanish when you can arch back and touch your head to the soles of your feet. So I hope that people who have been joining here, and I've noticed some folks here who I at least have been practicing with me for quite a while, maybe you're on this journey and going, man, I've been doing this thing and doing this thing. You know, when am I either going to get better, or when's that inner peace, right? That samadhi, when is that nirvana? And we're starting to wonder, like, well, I've been doing it and doing it. Okay, so maybe I should do a bigger hamstring stretch or a deeper back bend. And eventually we have to come to knowing that this vessel where our spirit resides is a limited frame, right? This is a finite vessel trying to hold infinite spirit. So where's the growth? The growth is going to happen interiorly. Yay! Okay, one thing I think of, thank you, Gaia, for joining in here, is what is the story we tell ourselves about our lives? That's from Brene Brown. But I've found it so powerful. I've had to rework my internal dialogue about my body, home, life choices, and so on. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gaia. Our perception is often the cloudy lens that starts to tell us, oh, this thing is a harm on you. It could actually be something that's ugly out there, but it isn't really affecting us inside, except that our perception of it. I'm going to put a disclaimer here that I'm not in any way trying to say that if you are suffering from any sort of systemic oppression, any sort of microaggressions, that it isn't happening, right? So sometimes when our discussions about perception in a yogic sense in our current day can really start to get a little too mixed in when we're talking about being gaslit or being absolutely ignored and erased. So I am not in any way trying to say that erasure isn't true and that microaggressions and oppression aren't happening. But ultimately, when we are within ourselves, we do hold a lot of control about our perception. We just got to learn how to flex those muscles a little bit better. So thank you for my little caveat there. Ooh, beauty is found in suffering. Heather, I would love to hear more about what you mean about that. Alexandria, thank you for sharing. Dukkha to me means holding myself to a higher bar than I hold to others. Being the most hard on myself and realizing I need to cut myself some slack sometimes and just do what I can when I can. Wow. First of all, thank you so much for that share and for opening yourself to us and to the public world. Holding ourselves to a higher bar. That's an interesting perception as well, because it can kind of put this kind of higher ground, absolute right or wrong onto some things. But I do like that, putting the onus on ourselves as to how we feel and how we interpret the world and how we receive the world. Ultimately, that is that's within our purview, and that's our job. And that's a part of this connection, this yoking that we're doing as yoga. Heather, I would love it if you've got any more that you want to add in on the beauty that is found in suffering. I'm going to just share a little bit more, and then we're going to have some time for a breath practice and a movement practice. Maybe a quiet moment before we do that to let some dust settle, and a little bit of journaling about our plan for this week. So you hear me talking about perception and misperception. And we started today with the Ganesha Mudra. It's about, if you all know who Ganesha is the elephant god, said to be able to remove obstacles. A really sage and wise Guruji of mine it said to me once, but I think that's a little too easy. If we can just like rub the magic lamp and Ganesha comes and removes our crap. She said, I think that Actually, Ganesha likes to put that crap right back in front of you and see if you're going to do the same thing over and over again. I was like, oh, yeah, that would be too easy, wouldn't it? I like my little magic lamp idea. Can't I just rub it and say, Ganesh, come trample on this mighty elephant? So we did this is about our obstacles, and within our obstacles, can we see what truly is in our way? Okay, because the suffering is caused by this perception, and we get to look at what's in our way. So in our way are the avidyas, tied to our obstacle of understanding what is going on. Okay, so I'm only going to speak briefly about the avidyas. We have 5 of them. Avidya number 1 is avidya, and that's a misunderstanding, okay, or a miscomprehension, an incorrect comprehension of what's going on. So I can be like, well, I thought you were being an asshole, right? And somebody's like, well, actually, I was trying to explain it to you. Maybe it was coming across abrasively, but here's what they were trying to do, right? Intention often gets mixed up when we have a misunderstanding, miscomprehension. The intention at the base of it, we don't get to because all the outside stuff gets in the way. Ego, asmita, is definitely a huge obstacle of mine for me to understand. And the obstacle, the ego, is creating the suffering. The ego is going, you got disrespected. You didn't do this and you didn't get that. Okay. So, and I am awesome, right? Because the ego is just all about itself. Raga. That's our desire and demands. Desire is when we want what we want when we want it. Desire drives so much of our behavior and our actions and our bodies. Sometimes we want things so much that we rush and we knock our body parts, right? And we bang an arm and we trip and we whatever because I'm going to get the thing I want. Right? And we don't even notice how much desire is driving and obscuring our understanding, and that the desire itself is a cause of the suffering. Rejecting. Outright, flat out, nope. And I really feel like lately in a lot of our lives, when we're drawing those hard lines and we're learning about boundaries, we're going to the extreme on it and it just becomes nope. And when we reject, when we turn away, we're closing ourselves to a learning or an understanding. Nope, never going to do that. Nope, never going to taste that. Nope, never going to try that. Nope, I'm not going to learn how to listen to you in a different way. And all of that rejecting is actually creating a suffering within us. And then lastly, big one, ready? Abhinivesa. Fear. You don't ever have to say it in the Sanskrit. I'm probably slaughtering it in the Sanskrit. But fear. Woo! Fear. Fear creates suffering. And that one's an easy one for us to look at and go, oh yeah, when I'm afraid, right? I get a little tight over here. I get a little trembly here. And I can feel that suffering, right? You can feel how it's locking us in to some discomfort, some serious, serious discomfort. Or remember we said it was pain or misery, all of those wonderful words. All right, so our suffering, our pain, our misery is caused by our misperceptions, our fear, our rejecting, our ego, and our desires or demands that we put on ourselves. Anyone have any thoughts about our obstacles? Before we get any further, I'm going to take a peek here. My friend Heather has shared. Woo! I asked her to share it, and boom, she brought it down. Sometimes when we are in deep suffering, we notice the deep beauty surrounding us, the beauty of our memories, the good we have known, the waves reacting to my drum on the beach, the color of the leaves, the hug and embrace of friends. In times of suffering, we may value those more and see the pure essence of love and connection. Wow, that is some profound awesomeness. Yes. seeing things in that different light. And maybe sometimes the suffering is like the burning of the wildfire that actually helps the pod open and the seed to blossom. Because within that perspective, we might actually get to drop some of those other obstacles in order to be able to see clearly. Thank you. Thank you so, so much, Heather. Much, much gratitude. Okay, so obstacles. What stands in our way? What stands in our way and is actually creating our suffering? We're going to move this week with various asanas and sun salutations as always. But how will we carry this message, this lesson about dukkha, and I guess the sukha? What's the sweetness? Okay, because actually that's what Heather was talking about. Because the sukha and the dukkha, they get to do a little dance, right? Because the sukha helps us, right? We really appreciate that sweetness when we get to emerge from those moments of discomfort. So how can we reflect on it? I had started to talk about perception. Now this is a little bit getting into and we do this now and again, so I don't know why sometimes I get a little trepidatious and I go, oh, people are going to think, oh, that's too deep. But this is yoga, so it is what it is. The second Yoga Sutra, it says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga quiets the constant churning in our minds and helps us see things clearly. The third sutra, once I have a clear, quiet mind, I can see things clearly. With a quiet mind, I'm not obscured by all of those, that ego, that fear, and all of that stuff, and I get to see things clearly. I might not like what I see about the world, but I'm seeing it clearly. I'm seeing what's truly going on inside of me, and I'm seeing what's truly going on out there. When you go a little further in, we say that the mind has 5 states: perceiving, misperceiving, memory, I call it future thinking or anticipation, when we're just in the what's going to happen, what's coming, and then deep sleep. All right. I've often told any students of mine who have been in my teacher training, let's just set deep sleep aside, because it's like, we can start talking about dream state and blah, 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 and what all is going on. But let's just set that aside. You sleep, turn it off. Got it. So perceiving and misperceiving, memory, or anticipating and being in the future. I've been in that even in a yoga pose. I've been in a yoga pose saying, oh, today is better than yesterday. So I was already in a memory and I was planning on what is better, right? Once I start saying that something is better or worse, once I'm putting that better, I'm already planning some futuristic state of more. Okay. So misperceiving, perceiving. What did I just say? Memory and anticipation. And inside of all of those, that bears us into the space of discomfort, misery, if we're not seeing it clearly, right? Because if I'm feeling a harm on a memory space, who did the harm? Right? Me being in the memory is creating that pain. So how do I break that cycle and not make the memory be my reality of my space of presence? Because in the 5 activities of the mind, we get to distinguish, I was in a memory. I wasn't right here. The memory isn't now. The memory is over there. My now is fine. I am safe. Oh, anticipating. Oh, I'm going to plan. I got 5 other things I got to do once I'm done with this live stream. Holy crap. Wait, I can't be in an anxious space over that. That's not right here. Right here, I'm actually comfortable and at peace. Okay. When I get into the future shit that I want to get done, I'm going, oh, crap. Oh, I'm going to have a horrible day. I've got a horrible day. What? I don't have a horrible day. I'm right here. I'm right here hanging out with some awesome people who want to learn how to connect. Whoa. Postpone the future suffering. Whoa. Postpone the past suffering and be right here. Perception is really key. So I'm going to hush, bring myself down, because I get all keyed up talking about the yogas. Oh, Heather has shared once again. I find the sweetness in the suffering is only found when I surrender and I sit in the silence. Distraction does not allow such sweet gifts. Amen. Absolutely. Amen. And so, going back to that second sutra, that yoga helps us quiet the constant churning in the mind so that when we can turn that knob down, we could actually see clearly and say, oh, that's a bunch of noise, but there's actually a piece that's right here. Do I have control of the knobs? So this week we will work on a practice plan that helps us look at our suffering, dukkha. Try not to choose your deepest, hardest point of suffering or traumatic event in your life. Let's just be here in this moment now. Okay? And maybe take a moment and let's have some quietude. Settle in. Maybe do that check in that we did already before. Invite yourselves to your mat physically and check in. How is my body? How's my body feeling right now after it received all of that? What's agitated, irritated, stiff? Invite yourselves in your breath. How is your breath? How is it moving and carrying the truths of our misery and the truths of our perception, the truths of our obstacles? And invite ourselves, ready, into our mental churning. Where is it right now? Is it here or is it in a memory trying to remember something I said? Is it here or is it anticipating the plan for this week? What is right here? How am I experiencing this moment? And invite that wisdom body, that intuitive body. What resonated or is resonating in that wisdom now? And then that inner peace and bliss, that spark, that essence of our spiritual being. Invite it here now. Get to know it now. Notice how much more we're able to be with it when we let go of some of that misperceiving, that memory space, that anticipation of what should my spirit feel like. Just be with it right here, right now. And then let's take a moment and write out in your journal something simple of what it is that you want to practice. Maybe it's just observing when I'm uncomfortable. For me, mine is going to be, can I distinguish between discomfort and suffering? Because I think I confuse the two. I know that I tend to, any amount of discomfort as someone who's a survivor of multiple traumas. Um, I'm just like, I put my hard limits on everything. And I'm just like, you know what, Belinda, you can feel a stubbing of the toe and it's not all out like I'm going to full on blast. I don't need that. I can actually endure and be resilient. Doesn't mean enduring a harm being done to myself, but just a discomfort, and observe my reactions inside of that discomfort, because all discomfort is not suffering. So that is mine. I am not in any way trying to impose it upon yours. So take a moment, write out in your journal. And then you have the spelling of dukkha in case you want to do some research this week in looking at what is dukkha. What is there to be read about in terms of dukkha? Much of your ancient text or guidance. So if you did get Heart of Yoga, Desikachar, you're going to read about the tree of Vidya, the tree of our obstacles in our mind, of our misunderstandings, our misperceptions that get in our way. Many of you know that Light on Yoga by BKS Iyengar is more of the asana, the breakdown, and I love it. It's great. It doesn't spend as much into the philosophical intertwining. Desikachar does. That's why I really am always talking about Desikachar. But then also, if you're looking for something that isn't written by a man, this is Lilius Yoga. Some of you may notice her as like the PBS yoga lady from back in the day, back in the day in the 70s. And some of y'all are way too young for that. But Lilia's is, wow, I think she's in her upper 80s now. And I've had the honor to be able to hold space and meet her when she was in her upper 70s. And I was the second youngest in the room at the time because her people love her who are just a lot older. But you have a woman who studied with BKS, who also just really understands philosophy. And Lilius Yoga is about, okay, your guide to enhancing body, mind, and spirit in midlife and beyond. All right. Because these vessels, while they may have been hot stuff in our 20s and 30s, we got to learn how to connect in and have a good relationship with these bodies, holding our spirits as these bodies get older, because we are carbon-based life forms and we deteriorate. I am a living proof of that. Okay. Does anybody have anything that they want to share about setting up their practice plan? And guidance, the guidance element of the plan. I'm happy to offer more resources or books, material. We're going to move a little bit. And with this, we're going to bring into our mind maybe a meditative mantra. Okay, so look at your practice plan. What is it that you said you want to practice? I've said discomfort and suffering. So I'm going to just use that as a ping as I'm moving to say, is that just purely discomfort? And how am I reacting to that discomfort? Am I assigning a value to it? Am I in a memory about it? Because sometimes discomfort triggers a memory. Am I in the present? Am I in anticipation? Am I perceiving it correctly? Is it danger or is it just, give me some time? Okay. That's what I'm going to be doing. My mantra, discomfort, suffering, question mark, as I move. All right. We're going to get moving a little bit. Probably go over today to about 11:40 or 11:45. If you have to go, my feelings won't be hurt. I'm deeply honored and grateful to be able to share in conversation and community with all of us. My practice, I'm just sharing the depth of my practice, my understanding of it. You all help me deepen my practice because of what you share. And I go, let me chew on that nugget. And I'm hoping that anything that comes out of my face that you're able to go, let me check on that nugget. And let's come back and report what we learn in our observations. And that gets us some nice, awesome sangha, some community that we can build together, connecting, because we're not in a silo and we're not doing a top-down thing. How do we do this horizontal, this lateral movement with one another that's collaborative and regenerative, not just sustainable, regenerative. All righty, let's get moving. If we want to move, I'm going to keep the comments up. So hopefully my eyeballs, these deteriorating eyeballs, can see the screen while we're moving. Let's go on the hands and knees if you're comfortable doing so. And I want you all to know, as we're coming to hands and knees and getting situated, I don't have a plan. I didn't have a plan 20 minutes before we came online. I just sat with my practice and thought about, where am I? What do I feel like talking about? And I was just like, you know what? I've really had some lessons about dukkha over this last week. And then that's just what happened. All right. So I'm not sitting up just going, I'm not marking it down. Actually, it was kind of funny. I was running around like, oh, let me go get this book. Oh, I remember this about Duhkha. And I'm running, I'm grabbing all that stuff. And it's like 2 minutes before we're supposed to go live. Yeah, that's how this is breaking down. So this is about as organic and natural as I can try to make it be and not be contrived. And show any error and show what I know and what I don't know. My perception of what I know. Let's start with a few cat and cows. Now, just start to notice I was allowing myself to have some discomfort in my wrists, and I'm now going to switch it into my fists because I'm bringing that aspect into my mind about suffering and discomfort and my perception of it. In a neutral space and neck rolls. Seeing if I can isolate and just do the isolation. I love testing myself into areas where I just do one thing and I notice myself get upset or something going, but I want to do it this way. I like it this way instead. And I go, oh, yep, there's me butting up against desire. And how limiting something, creating a boundary, a limitation, and just saying, I'm just going to do this one thing, change direction. Maybe it makes me feel like I'm suffering. Right? Saying, okay, I can't go outside until 2:00. And I see that as a suffering. And all it was a boundary, a limitation. And is that really a suffering? And I'll come to a neutral space. I'm going to reach my left leg back, extend it back. And I love what Heather was sharing there. So where is the non-suffering here? Holy moly, that giant limb responded to electrical impulses in my brain. And it lengthened back, number one. It did a movement, and it is sustaining this movement. How many nerves are firing right now? And that is a miracle. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to feel extension and stretching of this limb. I have a limb. I have all of the other limbs that are supporting me. I'm going to bring that leg down and I'm going to lengthen and extend. Do I know and can I feel that extension? Is there more extension possible? Or am I creating a limitation in myself and it's letting me actually suffer and I don't even know it? I'm suffering from unfulfilled possibility. And I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to reach the left arm forward. I'm observing any urge to change it. Like, oh, is it going to be a twist? Am I going to add the leg into it? And that's me up against desire as well as pattern of familiarity. So giving myself a limitation. Some of you know I also practice and teach Tai Chi Chuan. And that's a form, right? We do the same thing in the same way all the time. And some people like to talk to me or debate with me about how a set pattern, how it isn't freeing, it isn't liberating, it's actually confining. I'm like, oh, but if you actually, so much you can learn about how you can liberate inside of a set pattern, because we get to butt up against all of our desires to change, to moderate, to quit. And I'm going to switch and I'm going to feel this other arm lifting. Now, am I just kind of holding it here, waiting for the next thing, or am I practicing? And how do I create a suffering in myself? By quitting on actually applying to do the thing. And bring that down. I'm going to talk the toes, feel the toes, start to lift the hips up, downward facing dog. Now, if you always pedal the heels, maybe don't here. Notice every ache, every stiffness. What is it? What is your relationship to what you are perceiving? Where is there ease? And truly honor when the physical structure says basta, enough. Do we even know how to listen to that? Or are there certain discomforts and pain that we have allowed ourselves to say we deserve? That pain is the only thing that verifies that we are valid or have done good work. And we'll bring those knees down. I'm going to roll it up till I'm standing on my knees. Hips over my knees and just hold here. I'm just going to give my back some support, but try to sit as upright as I can here. And I notice where my mind is. My mind is actually kind of pinball-y today. It's a ball in a pinball machine. It's like, ooh, all the things, all the things. So I'm like, okay, just settle down, slow down. Be here now, slow down. Lifting the chest, feeling limitation of the physical body, finding that stop point that the body asks for, and I'm checking in, is that suffering or discomfort? Or is it just new and unfamiliar? And then notice how my perception changes as the physical body changes. And then accept this new moment. I'm in a different space. I'm experiencing things differently than I did 3 seconds ago, because those seconds are gone. So what happens if I wait, if I let time go by and let change occur? And how do I experience the change? And bring ourselves back. Take your time. And I'm going to come to child's pose. Where is your mind? Where's your physical body? Where are you feeling an unrest, a discontent? Is it true? Are you perceiving it correctly or incorrectly? Are you in the past or the present? Are you reacting to ego, fear, rejection, desire? And let's lengthen the arms out in front of us. Inhale as we come forward. Exhale, lowering the body down. Breath in, lifting the chest, cobra. Exhale, hold. Now you choose your depth. We're going to be here for a few breaths. What's going on in your mind? Is your mind going, oh man, I don't want to hold this, and we didn't warm up first. She's doing illegal yoga right now. Be where you are and notice your thoughts. Notice your physical body. So I'm going to lower because I had more juice to start. So I'm forgiving that there's a space of change, but it doesn't mean I have to come out of practice. I'm grateful. Still grateful. And down dog. Pressing the heels down, lengthening the hips up, pressing and extending down and forward through the arms, lengthening the neck. What's possible? Where are we imposing a limitation on possibility? Where are we assigning a discomfort or a suffering? And is it true? Let's look forward and walk the feet up in between the hands, toes and heels together or apart. Breath in and lengthen and hold. How flat can the spine be? What are we observing going on in the physical body? Are we still applying and practicing, or are we waiting? Forward fold. Are you actively folding? Where are you? What are you doing? What are you practicing? Let's breathe in and rise all the way up, lengthening. What's lengthening? What's rooting? Where are we in our minds and in our perception? Exhale, forward fold. Half flat back. Stepping it back to plank, toes and heels together. If you're in extended plank, squeeze the inner thighs, nipples over thumbs, dome the shoulders up to the ceiling. Are you still pressing the heels back, or are you asking the arms to do it all? Are you suffering, or are you practicing? Lower down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. Right heel lifts up. Let's lift and lengthen. Are we still lifting? Are we hitting a stopping point? What is being expressed in the left leg? How are we interpreting it? What's going on in both arms, in the spine, in our mind? Bring that right foot down, lift the left leg up. Can you keep the toes flexed, drive the heel up? What are we experiencing in sensation in the body, in levels of intensity? And does intensity mean suffering? And then how do we react and respond? Bring that left foot down, bring the knees down, coming up for camel, rolling the spine up, hands to the low back, breath in as we lift and grow, exhale, chest up, gaze to the ceiling. Where are we encountering resistance, obstacle? What is that obstacle? Is it rejection? Are we just rejecting and refusing? Are we fearful? Is it ego? Is it misunderstanding? Is it desire? And child's pose. Take your time. I'm going to come up to hands and knees. I'm going to step the right foot up. And I'm going to wiggle the right foot over to the left. I'm going to keep that left leg back behind me. Some of you might want to put a block underneath of that hip for pigeon. Left kneecap facing the floor. Maybe bring some blocks alongside you to give yourself some support to sit upright. Maybe pull the right hip back, left hip forward, aligning the hips. But let's bring some loving kindness into that action, some patience. And observe our intensity, observe our relationship to the sensations we are experiencing, the sensations we're reacting to. How is the breath body living in this pose? How is your mental body living and reacting in this pose? How is our intuitive wisdom body interacting in this pose? And where is our peaceful bliss body in this pose? How is it practicing this pose? What is this pose doing for that spirit body? And then we'll come forward. Look at the spaces of intensity. Notice where your mind is. Perceiving, misperceiving, memory, or anticipating. Can we be here and observe what is truly going on here? What are we experiencing? Can we allow it to occur and find contentment? Can we allow for space for it to transform and change? Are we observing the moment of transformation, the gradual nuance of transformation? Be present with the state of change, knowing that this too does pass. And maybe one moment to the other is no better than or worse than. It just is. That this moment isn't better than the last one, and that I'm not trying to achieve a superiority. Yoga is not a zero sum. And let's make our way back. You can come the hands and knees. Some of you prefer to go to a down dog space, opening that hip. And because I am enjoying this space, does it mean that I didn't enjoy the other, or the other was just something to endure to get to this? Interesting to start to just bring our perception and our observation into this journey of suffering, perception, and the obstacles to seeing things clearly. I'm going to step my left leg up, getting ready for my other side. Even notice how you're starting to approach this. Are you making demands of this side, or are you greeting this side and being present with it for where it is today? And then apply ourselves energetically. So we're lifting up through the heart, rooting down through the hips, respecting the limitations of our bodies while... Hey, Sybil! I'm glad you like it. Okay, so the chest is lifting, hips are rooting, all the while respecting the limitations in our physical flesh, while being willing to step to the edges of those boundaries and feel, what am I perceiving here on these edges as something is changing, transforming, lengthening? And it doesn't mean more. Everything doesn't mean more. And coming forward when you're ready. You can have a pillow down in front of you to rest your arms on. Maybe you just rest on your hands. We all have a different level, a different space that we're in. And it doesn't mean that any of us are doing it wisely, right? Some of us can be really ripping beyond some limitations in our body. So try to take away this notion of looking at someone else in a pose and feeling as though they're doing it better than or deeper than, or that they're superior in any way. You could be looking at someone going through some excruciating suffering. I don't want to emulate that. I've been really learning on taking a little bit more time in my approaches, maybe backing off, taking that time, and then coming in a little bit deeper and just learning how my body has a process, and that process is changing, some due to age, some due to how much I've beaten this body up, some due, hopefully, some due to a little bit of wisdom I may be growing with practicing and observing, practicing and observing. All right, I'm going to walk my way up. I'm going to just shift my weight to the left hip and bring that leg out in front of me and come on up to a seated space. I appreciate everyone and all of your conversation and joining in today about Duhkha. Let me just feel that reverberation of what got stimulated and cleared and opened, released in where I am right now. All right, I'll invite us to close with that Ganesha Mudra once again. So maybe bring to mind your intention for your practice. Or sometimes I offer a visualization while we're here for us to just call to mind something that we feel has been in our way or has been causing us distress of late, and then feel that resistance as you're pulling and feeling that fight within us. I love how Jessica Char said it feels like a squeeze, right? That tension, that squeeze. Do it, feel it. Feel it in your bones, feel it in your mind. Notice your perception of it. And now let's start to ease up on the grip, softening and loosening the flesh, loosening the fingers. And feel that perception changing and how we're experiencing and living in that sensation changing. And I'm going to flip. And maybe you keep the same intention or the same visualization or pick another one. I'm sure we got no lack of stuff that's ticking us off or causing us some sort of grief. And pull. And feel your own embodiment of releasing, wrapping around ourselves with a softer way of being as we let that fight go, that obstacle go, whether it's the ego, whether it's our misunderstanding, our desire, our rejection, or our fear. I am deeply grateful to be able to share my practice of yoga with you, and thank you all for sharing so much today, your practice of yoga with me. Namaste. I'm Belinda, and this is Just Be Yoga and our home yoga practice live this week, stepping in it, right? Stepping in the Duhkha. I love it. Stepping in it. I crack myself up sometimes. I will hang out for a moment and happy to interchange a little bit more if anyone has any questions about Duhkha, about texts. Maybe if Sybil is still here, if she has any texts that she would recommend, if people want to explore a little bit more about Duhkha. We're honored to be able to have such a wonderful Guruji here with us. So yeah, make your practice plan, set the amount of time that you're going to practice, observe, observe, observe. Nobody ever has to see your notes on that. And then seek your guidance, either from a real live human being person as a teacher or from sacred text or a combination of both. Because sometimes that misperception can take us down the wrong path for a long time. Like, I'm learning some stuff. And then you go, ooh, I had that all wrong. So sometimes, that's where we need some guidance on this path. All right. Thank you, Heather. You are amazing in all that you shared with us today. I'm just going to put that one back up there on the sweetness in the suffering is only found in the surrender as I sit in the silence. And we do have to have that surrender time and that silence time. And sometimes I really wonder, like, the reason we don't do it more as a collective mass being of humans is because it's scary, right? It's like, oh, the silence? No, then I'd have to hear what's really going on, and surrender. I'd have to let go of control. What? Heck no. And that's ego. That's all ego. That's like, I got this. All right, Claudia, good to see you. Good to see you, Joe. Thank you, Heather. This week, also, you all, if you're still sticking around, you know that the way we do things. Tuesday's more philosophical. Wednesday, we'll be doing it a little bit more of a flow practice, but it's up to you to be bringing in your elements of your plan. And Thursday is new edges, new things, new levels. And then Friday is foundational and basics. So that's the way we'll do it. A lot more asana for the rest of the week. I'm going to come up with a list of poses for us for this week, as well as a breath practice. Take your mudra with you. Take your notes with you. Have a wonderful day. I'm jazzed up. Thank you all so much. Namaste.